Tell us about the process, because your video that I saw from one of the other content creators on YouTube was very in depth. I loved how you walked people through literally how you were in California. We know that the price of living is crazy high out in Cali. I'm from Oakland, so I know how high up on the totem pole Cali's regular everyday to day living is. And so, like, talk to us about, like, how was your process in even deciding to purchase land out in Ghana, for those who may not know how to acquire land, and like how long did the process take even for you?
Got it. So like I said, I had no connections, so I had to create those connections. And the first thing I did was follow every Ghanaian influencer on YouTube. And whenever they interviewed a real estate, mogul or someone that's, in the industry, I would direct message them. And some of them replied, some of them didn't, but the one that did reply, that's how I ended up getting the beachfront property. So I saw an interview by an influencer. I DM'd this developer, and I would say we went back and forth for a year, because I couldn't afford the land at the time. But I Uber drive. That's like my, at that time, that was my main source of income. So at the time, I'm like, you know what? I can't afford this, but I'm gonna ask him questions and get to know him and see what type of person he is. And so about a year, I would say like 9-10 months went by, and I just asked him questions. What about this? What about that? Because I bought land prior to him, and I was having issues, which I'm sure we'll get into, with this certain estate company. And so he was giving me advice on how to handle them. So that kind of made me more comfortable, because I wasn't paying him any money to give me advice to help with this estate company. So he was willing to put in time without me, paying for it. So that was a good sign. That's what made me comfortable. But the process started, I would say, when I came back from China, September, the borders opened up. So once the borders opened up, September 2020, I came in November 2020, looked for land, saw several properties, but it didn't work because, folks, if you're interested in buying land, you can't just roll over there to Ghana and think in the West. So I took my Western mentality over there, thinking that everything is in order, it's regulated. As long as I plan and everything's going to go according to schedule. Oh, no. It's the wild, wild west over here. You hear me? Because even though they have systems in place, they're not regulated. So you can go out of order and do things, and people can do things to you, take your money, exploit you, all this stuff. So I learned the hard way. So regarding the timeline, I came November 2020, didn't buy land, but met someone that worked at the Lands Commission, which really helped me with learning the industry and avoiding certain pitfalls. So December 2020, I said, Leslie, okay, you get the land. What are you gonna do with it, right? And I said, oh my goodness, I need a development project, a timeline, a projection. Like, what am I gonna do once I get this land? So I was so focused on getting land that I didn't even think what I was going to do with it. And so for a whole month of December, I bought Revit, which is a software program through Autodesk. That's what I went to school for. And I started designing my development project. So it's a 3-phase development project. And I just took off for a whole month. And what also helped me, take off for a month was we qualified for all that assistant money, right? Because even though I was an Uber driver, we were still considered essential. So I qualified for the unemployment, the self-employed unemployment money. So I was able to get that. And so I was able to take a whole month off just to design my concept. So December 2020, I had my design, and I'm like, you know what? Now I officially need land. I went back in February, stayed until March, bought my first property through a middleman, a liaison. Folks, this whole journey is on my YouTube page. It's too much to even go on this podcast, but that has been, I don't even know how to explain it. It's been too much, okay? Too much, but that's part of learning the culture. So when I went for the second time, I learned like, oh, okay, it's not like the West. And me, I was emotionally excited thinking I'm going back to Africa where we own everything. We're on the money. We got blackface on the money. We running stuff. But eventually I learned that we're not running it. We're just the face of it. I call it blackface. When you see all the managers, all the leaders, they're black, but the people behind are either European, Lebanese, Chinese. I mean, so that was devastating. I was culture shocked because that's when I knew, okay, this is way different than what I thought. And I need to learn the culture of the people. I need to create a networking group. And that's what I did. I created a networking group. So people that wanted land didn't have to go through what I went through. And that's how the journey started. Yeah. Does that answer your question? I think I went off.
Yeah, nah. You teaching us, Queen. You talking to us about things that people need to know, because we know that you documented your whole process, especially on your content and even on YouTube specifically. But people, they just need to hear from the person directly from the source, literally, so that they avoid a lot of the mistakes and things that will be issues for people thinking that they can go out there with the Western mindset, like you said. Stay with that point too, right there. Like, what were some of the initial hiccups that you saw outside of course, people trying to take money in USD from folks that they know are American? Like, what are some of the big red flags that people should look out for in order to not get scammed or even to lose out on valuable land or property out there?
Right. So I'm gonna touch on the culture. Just know when you show up and if you don't open your mouth, they'll think you're one of them. The second you open your mouth, it's like everything quadruples in price, you know? So of course we cannot talk, right? But just know that's part of the way their mentality is they see us as money. There's a handful that see us as our brothers and sisters coming back, but the majority sees us as money and as opportunity. And for the ladies, some of us are tickets for them to come to the States. Okay. So you got to be aware. So one of the things I did when I first went to, because I noticed every time I had a meeting, I'm dealing with all men. It's very patriarchal in Ghana. I haven't dealt with a woman. So in Ghana, women weren't even allowed to write their names on deeds and documents until the 90s. So they included in their constitution, women can now own land in their name in the 90s. So that already shows you the type of mentality. So when I come to Ghana, I'm going back in time. Okay. So that's just a little bit about the culture. But one thing that you need to know and do before you give your money is a surveyor, to do a site plan, to get a lands commission search. This is crucial because someone's selling you land, and if their name does not pop up on the lands commission search, they don't have the authority to sell you land. So that means they're getting ready to take your money. Okay. So if you do a survey, get coordinates, get a site plan, do a lands commission search, that's equivalent to like a title, like the process of real estate in the States is the title, you know. And then you'll see everyone that owned the land since they started, you know, recording. And if that person's name does not pop up on the lands commission search, don't give them your money at all. So that is step number one. It doesn't matter how gorgeous the land is. It doesn't matter who says what. Because in Ghana, a lot of the land is sold by chiefs. So it's still tribal. The government only owns about 13% of Ghana. Everything else is either owned by chiefs or families or clans, or there's another one. Families, chiefs, clans. I forgot the other one. But anyways, which is cool, which is good in a way because the people still own it. But then if the people aren't educated or if they are all about money, it became an issue to where even chiefs were selling land to multiple people, right? And people are thinking, oh, I got land. I gave money to the chief. It's official. Not knowing that someone else's name is in the lands commission's database and they don't have authority. So that's the number one thing to do before you give your money is to hire a surveyor to do a site plan and get a lands commission search. So you'll see who actually has the authority to sell you the land.
Yeah, that's real. A lot of horror stories I've heard of friends and even certain family friends that literally are purchasing land, and it's like a hustle out there to
It really is.
literally take USD or take pounds all throughout the motherland, and even in Asia, I've heard of literally people selling multiple pieces of land, and they're not even the owners out there, but because we don't know the system and the protocol, and we thinking it's like in America or Canada or Europe, like it's a process that is pretty legitimized out there to acquire